Hello, Ejel Martins, licensed marriage and family therapist, couples therapist. Last week, we talked about this part called the shame ball. So, when your energy, you're literally trapped inside of yourself and you contract, become like a ball. So, you disconnect from the outside world and you disconnect from yourself. Right? It is literally the annihilation of yourself. So guilt and shame tend to come side by side. It's heavily used emotions when we use to work with infidelities and transgression. And those two emotions tend to be used interchangeably. So, what are the differences? How do you know when you're feeling shame? How do you know when you feel guilt? And how's that manifesting in our body? And how does it stop us from being the person that we really want to be? So if we say that shame make you become like a ball, trap your energy inside, for me, guilt feels more like a mask on your face, on your body, that disconnect you from the other person. If you're familiar with Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development, there are actually 8 stages of development. In the second stage is from age 1 to 3. It's called autonomy versus shame or doubt. In the third stage, and that is from the age of 3 to 6, it's called initiative versus guilt. So you see, according to Erik Erikson, guilt gets developed later in life when you have more cognitive skills, logical thinking, and more relational. Let's think about a child. If they're between, say, a 2-year-old, and when they did something wrong, they tend to just pout and shut down. Right? And when someone is developing to, say, this child goes to 3 or 4-year-old, goes to preschool, they become more relational. They start to play and collaborate with other kids. They start to form their own little groups, and a little bit like teenager. So that is when the time from 3 to 6, when one is more relational. They care a lot about relationship. Instead of when they're doing something wrong and you point out that they did something wrong, instead of just shut down saying, I'm so bad, right? I'm not good enough. Let me just recover from this, shutting down before I can connect with anybody else. But for a more like a 3 to 6-year-old, when they feel guilty, they can still relate to someone. And they're more thinking, well, I did something wrong. That mommy or daddy is disappointed with me, but they're not shutting that as I'm all bad. So when you are under the influence of the guilt mask part, we call it, what are the thoughts that can be evoked inside of you? So with shame, the thoughts are more like I'm bad, I'm not good enough, I'm this and that. Right? And with guilt, it tends to be I should or I shouldn't have done something. In our context of infidelity and the transgression, the thoughts might be I shouldn't have kept seeing this attractive coworker of mine after work and talk about my intimate inner life, share my inner life with this person. So when you have those thoughts, what are the feelings that's being evoked inside of you? Like, how do you feel about yourself, about your relationship, or what about the other person when you are having those thoughts? That I should have done that, I shouldn't have done that. So I explored this and I had 3 feelings that come up. One is disgust. It's a disgust of the self for doing that and for being that way. The behavior we talk about, the shouldn't have. There's a behavior or action that has already happened. And then there's also fear, the fear of losing the connection with this loved one, and fear of being retaliated. So the thoughts is like, oh, I did this something I shouldn't have done, and what if my loved one look down upon me and judges me and don't want to be with me anymore and want to leave me? What if they're really angry and they want to retaliate by, say, saying something hurtful or taking the children away or take all the money away and leave me? Right? So this fear of losing connection and the retaliation. And another layer of emotions is sadness. This one I found very complicated. So there's a part of sadness around the loss of, I'm not a perfect partner. I've done this. The action we talked about happened. That I'm not perfect anymore. I'm not the partner I wanted to be. I'm flawed. Right? So there's a grief of that loss. And there's another part of the grief over the loss of the ideal perfect relationship that you have. That the loss of symbiosis, where you are so aligned on everything, what brings you joy brings them joy. Now you have a difference. Like, let's say the example we have today, when you are continue to see this attractive coworker after work and share your inner world with this person and getting more connected and attached, you feel good. There's a part of you feel great, enjoy doing that. Maybe that's novel, maybe that's connecting, maybe that makes you feel good about yourself. So there's some joy and pleasure in doing that. Well, the same behavior can cause pain for your partner. So there's a disjoint. There's a difference that I feel good, they feel pain when I do this. So now we have dissonance and what to do about that, right? The loss of symbiosis and being this in discomfort of the conflict of interest. So disgust, fear, and sadness. So how do you feel those? If I invite you to explore those, what do you feel those emotions inside of you, in your own body? When I take a moment to sit with those emotions, I notice a lot of the fear show up in my neck and my head area, where there's a tightness and of the front part of my throat, pulling my throat back. So there's like a tucking of the chin and leaning back, where the neck is very stiff in the back. That is what the fear manifests in my body. It also showed up in my lower back, also have a lot of tension in the back of the lower back, super rigid with no flexibility. The natural curve is gone. So almost shaped like this, pulling. And then also with the disgust, I feel it more like a punch in the stomach, where my stomach concaves, my body concave in, which goes with the tight neck and the tight lower back. So my whole body from the side looks like this. And then I feel there's a disconnection of my arms from the joint, the shoulder socket. How I notice that is with the guilt one feels in transgression or infidelity. They tend to come with a lot of doing without connecting with the heart. Let's imagine the situation, the person who's having close contact with the coworkers regularly after work feels guilty, and they feel they've done something wrong, that somehow their partner is not going to like it. And then they're trying to make up for that by sending flowers and book an expensive dinner on a vacation and shower them with a lot of attention, even sex and intimacy. So they're trying to withhold certain information from them, but trying to make up by doing this thing. So there's a disconnection of where they are at with their partner, and it's not really coming from the heart of doing that. So when you're in this position, you feel the disconnection here and the lower back, It's very hard to show up as who you are and being connected with your center and your heart while you're giving love and attention to your partner. So the consequences of being trapped in this guilt mask is, well, you lose genuine connection with yourself and with your partner because you're hiding your vulnerability behind the mask. So we've talked a couple parts already of this particular type of infidelity that has something to do with the dopamine. Next time we're going to transition. I will summarize all those parts interaction and the struggles in those parts, and then we will introduce a different type of infidelity. Until next time.